1/3 of Pakistan is underwater as floodwaters rise across the country. The government says climate change is to blame. Climate Change Minister Sherry Khatman compared the situation to a dystopian disaster movie and said she had never seen anything like it. More than 1,000 people have died. International aid has begun to arrive, but getting to those who need it most is challenging, with some areas completely cut off.
Drone images reveal the extent of the devastation near Pakistan's Indus River. The floods have destroyed bridges and washed away many roads, forcing authorities to use boats, military planes and helicopters to carry out difficult rescue operations, often without a dry spot to land on. The government says 1 in 7 Pakistanis are affected by the floods, more than 33 million people. Many were forced to leave their homes, returning only to see what's still salvageable.
When I saw the water coming, I saved the women and children. When I returned here, there was a lot of water. Then I saved the cattle. After that, there was no chance to return here. There was just too much water.
The government expects the recent destruction to be worse than the widespread flooding of 2010.
People have actually lost their complete livelihood. Their orchards, their gardens, their agriculture fields and crops have been destroyed. We have lost more than 45% of cotton crop in Pakistan.
Relief efforts are underway across the country. Cargo planes from abroad are bringing urgently needed food, water and tents to Pakistan. Yet, many flood victims still feel abandoned by the government.
A lot of water entered our village. Our homes are submerged. Some of our relatives have died. We're not receiving any relief from the government.
There are also concerns about what's still to come. Monsoon season isn't over yet. More rain and flooding is expected.
Over 1,000 people are dead in floods that have destroyed large parts of Pakistan. The government blames climate change caused by other countries. Well, to talk about that, Ali Tawqir Sheikh is an independent expert on climate risk management. Just how severe are these floods?
These are very serious. They're spread affected. Already about 1 million houses have been damaged. Over 1,000 have unfortunately lost their lives, and probably 30 million people have been touched. What we have seen so far is a very strong capacity of the country in rescue operations. Of course, it could have been better, but we have done well. I think what is another strength that I wish to highlight is a very rapid mobilization of some resources for cash disbursement. Please remember that we have a cash disbursement program. We have done a survey of households many years ago. It's a live database. And we have identified bottom 40% of the population and 60% of the population below the poverty line. And in phase 1, we are trying to reach with cash disbursements, in addition to emergency supplies of medicine, food and water. Where I think we are weak, and that is absolutely important. One is that the initial estimate was that this will be a smaller number of people. It turned out for 6 weeks of very heavy rains have left a large number of people, and we will quickly need to replenish our financial resources through this vehicle, special purpose vehicle that we have for disbursement of cash. Okay. But the number of houses damaged tells me that the infrastructure is not climate resilient. It tells us that we need to do better in reconstruction.
You are a climate risk manager, so to speak. These flash floods are often part of the monsoon season, but not on this scale. The government blames climate change caused by other countries. What's your take on this?
Well, just imagine you go to Upper Indus Basin. People have lost their infrastructure that was built during the last 5 decades in 60s and 70s. And the glaciers have outbursted, and their carbon footprint is nominal or non-existent. They are paying for the lifestyle. The society is paying, generally speaking, in terms of permanent loss and permanent damage to our culture, our society, and our ecosystems. So, bottom line is, in the climate change conversation, nobody is safe unless everybody is safe. And here we see that a large percentage of population lives in low-lying areas, in flood-prone areas. They live with very fragile housing and non-resilient housing. And whenever there's a flood of this sort, there are huge losses. And some of them come to our coastal areas because of seawater intrusion. Some come because of glacial melt. Others have come because of torrential rains now. And then, of course, our infrastructure and flood management, riverine flood management is pretty strong. But we were not prepared for, in terms of our infrastructure, for urban flooding. We were not prepared for torrential rain of this sort to cause trans-boundary or trans-province flooding of the scale that we have seen. So in the climate change context, the footprint of this country is very small, very nominal. We are on the wrong side of the stick when it comes to climate justice. We have no calculations done in terms of estimating the climate cost to our economy and our development. But this much we know, that each such extreme event, such as heat waves, such as droughts and floods and seawater intrusion and glacial melts, the cost of development is increasing constantly. And this is very hard for a developing country economy to keep up with this kind of escalating cost of development.
Okay, it sounds like a lot needs to be done on both sides, in Pakistan and abroad, as far as battling climate change goes, that's for sure. Thank you very much for being on the show, Ali Takir Sheikh.